this studying.
All right, we got some good amount of people coming in. What's going on, Salam, Moxie, Robert Michael?
Hey.
What's going on, Ruben?
How you doing, Gregory?
Can't complain.
Oh, we could always complain, just can't do nothing about it.
This is true.
Yeah, I know I complain all the time.
This is true. And just when we think we have something to complain about, it could get worse the next day, so we're better off not complaining.
Yeah, for sure. So this is go ahead.
No, I'm just checking in with people saying hey.
This is my first time being on this group here. I actually emailed Jackie yesterday and had a couple questions for her, but she said check out this app called Zoom. She gave me the meeting number, so I was checking it out. I'm not sure if this is a weekly thing. You guys meet up here and have this thing?
Yeah, this is every week. Sometimes Jackie's here. Jackie's the one who started the meeting, this weekly meeting on this particular channel. A lot of times she's here. Sometimes she's not. But yeah, we have a lot of guys on here and girls ladies who are weekly regulars who are very knowledgeable. I'm personally in and out. I got my kids on Tuesday night, so I got to kind of go, mute myself in and out throughout the night. But we got a lot of
for sure.
A lot of people.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's
I apologize. 1 second, Ruben. Robert, you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Hey, I just talked to Jackie. So either way is good. She said you could use this room or like I said, you could use mine. So either way, we're set for you.
Okay. Cool, man.
No,
Zoom has screen share, correct?
Oh yeah. You can see
Okay.
it right in the center of your bottom part of the screen.
Well, I'm on my phone now, so. Oh yeah,
Oh,
there
I
it
got
is. Share content. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'll be on my computer when we do the calls.
Cool.
Absolutely.
And I could make you the host if you want to for those meetings.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can record it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think, like I said, I don't want to give the impression that we're talking about remedies or anything like that. And
Agreed.
I think 4 weeks, 4 sessions is probably not going to be enough for people to really grasp, but that'll give us a pulse on where we are, where people are, what they want, going forward.
Absolutely.
So I'll just go over some basic things, administrative process, accord and satisfaction, things like that. And things that I use daily for all these accounts. And again, it's just education. People can take from it what they will, So.
Well, I think that's good to point out for any of these calls in general. Ruben was saying it was his first time tonight, so I think it's good to point out in general that this is an education or a
information call.
Exactly. Information sharing. Like we like to say a lot. If people have something that they want to share with people, that if they're going to be speaking boldly about it, that they at least let us know whether it's something that they've done with success or not, repeatably.
Right.
We have a tendency as people in this movement to get excited about certain things and speak on it as if it's something that we're doing on a daily basis. Not saying that you're not personally or different people aren't, but
no. People I used to get caught up in it too. It took me a few years to catch myself and say, wait a minute, the way I'm saying this, people think I've actually done it, and I can't do that, But this group is, obviously, really focused on traveling, and I do have experience with that, and I did win a case with that. So, I can share that experience. It's not quite what everybody's doing, that's for sure. But I walked through it, and we successfully made it happen. So even after the state took everything. So, I could share that if the group would like to hear that.
Absolutely, I'm sure they would.
But again, I'm not saying that that's the surefire way. I just know, looking back at the elements, I'm like, okay. Even back then, I didn't quite grasp exactly why some of the stuff happened the way it did. But then after going back, I was like, okay. I see some elements here that are very important, and now I understand them more than I did then. So yeah, anyway, we can talk about that.
Well, and I think that something you brought up is important, which is sometimes we hear each other's experiences and something sticks out in your case that all of a sudden just turns a light on in someone else's mind. There's so many things, there's so many factors in these situations and little things that may play a big role, that I think that if we just hear each other's experiences, sometimes we could put pieces together that might help us in our own case, or
completely, man. I totally agree. That's how I put stuff together. I would hear things from KW that somebody was bringing him up last week, and I go, oh, you know what? I didn't think of that element. Or I hear something from Rod Class, or Bill Thornton, or Jim McBride. I mean, all these guys. Paul Andrew Mitchell, who's now become a friend of mine, studied his stuff, man, when I first started doing this, and I was like, wow, this guy is freaking genius, man. I mean, his mind is incredible. Anyway, yeah, I totally agree.
Let me interrupt real quick. That way, I was about to start recording, then I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we're recording in case there's something.
Go ahead, I'm going to mute out.
All right. You don't have to mute out. I just give a fair warning that if there's anything that people don't want to say, that on a recording that's going to be permanently available. All right.
Oh, no worries. I got some jazz playing in the background, and me and my lady are here chilling. So, like I said, I'll mute out until anybody's ready to let me speak up.
Here I go. I'm going to start recording.
On a side note, there, how do you actually mute yourself? I tried to. I'm on my phone also. Every time I swipe over, it'll tell me that my microphone is muted. But then when I swipe to the right, it says that it's on. It doesn't matter to me. I just don't want to have any background noise interrupt you guys or anything like that.
On the phone, let me see if I can pull mine up. There should be, if you just click on it.
Yeah, on the phone, if you push on the screen, it'll bring it up on the bottom left corner, and you just hit the little microphone.
Got you. Didn't see that.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
For those who are ever driving or anything, apparently there's a driving feature too. If you swipe to the left, I believe, on the phone.
How does that work when you're when you're driving? It just.
Well, yeah. If you on your phone right now, if you swipe all the way to the right, I guess you swipe the screen to the right, you'll see it come up. It says driving mode. See that?
Yeah.
All right. So then when you swipe it to the right, I guess. I think it automatically mutes you maybe, and if that's not true, then you could there's got an unmute button.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it's just a big huge button to unmute yourself as you're driving. Exactly. Probably.
Exactly.
So what do you think the most common tactic, I guess, you've heard people use or maybe bring up as far as dismissing tickets? Because me myself, I've had so many different tickets, and like you said earlier, there's a lot of different factors in each one of them.
I mean, I'll speak on it for a minute or 30 seconds. I know there's a lot of guys on here that have a lot more experience with some deeper aspects of it. But one thing that we have said in this particular group is it depends on where you're at in relationship to the system. So, as an example, and this is not necessarily just from experience, but from hearing other people's experiences and what they've relayed on this call, if you, as an example, don't have a license, meaning that you have no ties. Sorry, Salam, I just muted you out. You're making a bunch of noise. If you don't have any ties to the state and you get a ticket and then you return it within, 72 hours? From what I understand, if you don't have any ties to the system, then it goes to collection instead of going to warrant, it will go to collections, if at the most. So I think it really depends on where you're at in a relationship to the system. Again, as an example for myself, I had a driver's license at a time when I did get several tickets, and so I approached it a completely different way, and sent in different paperwork or different motions, and with some success and with some not so much success. So I know there's probably a lot of guys who have something else that they'd like to add to, so I'll just mute myself out, and if anybody wants to speak up on that. Anybody? Bueller?
Well, I'll speak a little bit on it. So like we were talking about last week, so for those that, if we have the recording from last week, it's a really good one, I think. Like Jackie said, we're all in a dark room touching different parts of the same creature, right? And we're trying to figure out what it is. Okay, so if you look at, like Carl Lentz, and you look at Judge Anna von Reitz, and you look at those folks, the definition to them of being outside of the system, as you so well put it, is to remove yourself from citizenship, right? Because, like I said, you can look at the congressional record, and even the congressional record states that U.S. citizens are S.Ct trusts that are basic, which means a slave backing up the debts of the United States corporation. And that's exactly what it is. It's a corporation. It's not a country.
Right.
Corporations don't have sovereignty. They never have. And so if you look at, from that perspective, if you look at correcting your status and going back to this, because the moment that you were born in the land and soil of the United States of America, the actual country, that moment, you are an American state national. It's only when you get the birth certificate a few days later where that's removed from you. So, okay, so that's one perspective, and that's my personal perspective, and it has worked fascinatingly well and has very interesting results, and I can share specific results with anybody if they want to listen to it. But you also have Robert, I forget his last name, but Robert went into a really good thing, and he was explaining the exact same thing that I was explaining, but he was giving it to you from the statutory United States code perspective. Again, he's touching the same animal in a different part of the dark room. He's just giving it to you as evidence in the statutory code and these Supreme Court case law.
So you mean trying to actually? Oh, go ahead.
And it says the exact same thing that I'm telling you, that an American state national is foreign to the United States corporation. And so if you read it from that perspective, you'll see he's saying the exact same thing. Again, I totally encourage people, if we have the recording, to go back to last week's recording, because it's really fantastic what he does. Because he shows you, he goes with all of his research, he shows you verbatim where the case is, where the references are, and it says the exact same thing that I'm telling you, which is, if you're a United States citizen.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Elena.
We all listened to Robert's presentation last time, and he said a lot of good things with, as you said, case law and stuff, but he was talking about administrative corporation that is administering us right now for whatever reason. But if you look at the Constitution, if somebody can pull it up on the screen, You can, I think everybody missing word union there. And here's what I have to say. Since I was born in Soviet Union used to consist of 15 republics. And we, the citizens, we were citizens of Soviet Union, not each and every republic. So when you look at your constitution, it says, we people of the states of United States to form more perfect union for the United States of America. So you are all, it seems to me, are citizen of the union, which is land, which is a country. For whatever reason, your union decided to elect corporation, which has the same name as union maybe, but it's a corporation.
Right.
So you, by saying we all are citizens of each and individual state, are missing very important thing, which is you're not citizen of each individual state, you're a citizen of the union. And your principle, which is straw man or uppercase name or trust that this country, United States of America, created for you, is the citizen of that corporation or has to do with statutes of that corporation. You as man or woman is a citizen or belonging to that union, to that, because each state is foreign to one another. Each of our body is foreign to one another. And if you go with this trading with enemy act that corporation created, if you start to look at it as each foreigner is an enemy to one another, it's like we are all enemy to one another. Each in our state, like New York State is enemy to Michigan State or New Jersey State, whatever. We're gonna go crazy. We cannot go from that platform. So we're not enemies, we're not foreign, we are all one union, we are country, we are this United States of America. But United States uppercase is a corporation that manages you. So you have public side and you have private side. You have this principal who is operating in commercial public side, but you at the same time is located in the private side. So you have to learn how to manage that public piece.
Yeah, well, so from my perspective, Alina, you've got to go back and look at the history. So when people say Constitution, well, which one? Are you talking about the organic one? In other words, the actual one for the land?
I'm talking about whoever had it on the screen right now.
No, well, okay. I'm just giving you the idea. It doesn't really matter. But there's three of them. Right? There's one. There's the organic one, that was the original one, and there's the territorial one that's owned by the British, and then there's the municipal one owned by the Vatican. So the other two, there's the organic is the only one that applies to living people. Otherwise, you're simply dead working for a corporation, and that's where the territorial and municipal come in. So you have to go back, and this is what Robert said also, you have to go back to the dictionaries that existed when this stuff was created.
Well, if you're operating by UCC nowadays, you have to go to definitions.
You're not operating by UCC. Remember, UCC came way after contract law.
I'm as a woman.
Way after law merchant.
I'm as a woman not, but your principal, which is in commercial zone,
right? We're not talking about
is operated and guarded by UCC.
Let's not.
And you have to use definitions from that code.
Yes, we're not. Let's not confuse people. Let's start on the human side. Well, excuse me. Let's start on the man side. The man side. Let's start.
You Americans have two birth certificates, right? One for the human, I mean for the man, and one for the trust, uppercase name.
Right, absolutely.
So uppercase name goes to the public side, and your private stays in your private zone. So what you have to do is separate yourself from the public. That's what Dawn did by doing assumed business name. So she separated herself from public, from public, and she's in private.
Right, but what all I'm saying, Alina, hold on. For the newbies here, you and I are I understand what you're saying. But for the newbies here, got to go back to history. When the country was founded, you were man, right? You were one of the people. those are linked intimately together. The people,
I would like
sovereignty
to.
of the people create the sovereignty of the state. And remember, state had a different definition back then originally. The state was a body politic of man, of people. So what you're doing is you're fast forwarding to, well, how do we operate on the UCC side? And I totally agree with you. I mean,
Not you, your principal.
your
You have
principle.
to
Right. Thank you.
constantly separate yourself from your principal. You
Thank
are
you.
an agent to your principal.
Yeah. Yes.
And if you look in the business law, it says that disclosed principal has certain things, because if you are an agent to disclose principal, you are not liable.
Right. Exactly. But that's using your chess piece, as it were.
That's what you're supposed to do by age
Right.
21 or 25. Unfortunately, we didn't know that parallel system exists and principle exists, but they do. So we know right now. So right now we have to take it to consideration.
I believe
that's correct. That's correct.
I believe even if you are completely ambiguous about your standing or how you see it as far as being an agent for, still that the system that we live in here in the United States, actually they don't, since they're not aware of it, or even if they were aware of it, they don't acknowledge it as being true. Because I've been doing the first thing I started doing about 10 years ago was writing UCC 1-207, or I'm sorry, 208, I think it was, before they changed it over, and then now it's
308 afterwards.
Right. So I used to write that on all my tickets, and for the majority of the time, I would still have to go to court, show that basically they want me to back out, but I'm not going to back out. So they make it go all the way till trial, and then I would end up winning by different ways. Sometimes the cop was there, and I've actually seen the judge, tell the people that are sitting down, oh, okay, call my name, and then say that the cop's not there when I'm looking right at him, and then the cops just look at me funny, like, what the hell's going on? But they don't want to be embarrassed, or maybe they don't want to have people know about certain things, so instead they want to get rid of it. Other times, after I fill out the ticket with the UCC, I would send it back the next day, or the day after that, somewhere within the 3-day range, and I've had them send it back unopened. Sometimes they'll send it back saying that here's your court date. You can either pay the fine or just totally ignore whatever I was presenting them. And I've done this for, like I said, about 10 years now. And just recently, this ticket that I'm dealing with right now, this has been the hardest ticket that I've actually fought, and yet it was the easiest, because when I did it, I was pulled over early in the morning, and I let the lady know. I was like, yeah, you're mistaken. I'm not driving, or I'm not operating under a license at the moment. And then I kind of left it at that, because they don't want to hear it, and you can tell. So I just took the ticket, and the next day I sent it back saying, you made a mistake, you're in error, you're causing harm to me, because I am the agent for the principal. And I addressed the officer by her first name. I some call-in stuff, just so that way she's aware that I'm talking to her and not the person she's acting as. But they ignored it, and right now they're currently threatening to suspend my license. What I've done is I've written letters to the clerk, delivered them to the clerk at the court that is nearest to me, as well as the district attorney, or the office for the district attorney. and they kind of ignored it. But just the other day, I completed what I think I completed, my assumed name certificate. So I filed it, with Minnesota, and put it in the paper for 2 days, and got the printout of good standing, and
Right.
I just received a letter from what was it? I think he was he was like the head administrator for a totally different courthouse, because I wrote the clerk of the court, and I guess she forwarded to this guy, and he basically said, kind of like laughed. It sounded like he laughed it off, because he was like, "Look, we sent you this and we sent you that," and he just kind of just blew me off and said, if you like to deal with this, you're more than welcome to go to the courthouse and deal with it on your own free time. But
Yeah, so there's I don't mean to interrupt, but so there's, like Alina was saying, she was talking about the UCC side. She was talking about exactly what you just described, which is taking over your principal. You're the how do you want to put it, Elena? You're the attorney in fact for the principal.
You can be attorney in fact, or you can be an
Right.
agent, but you're separating yourself from the principal. You're separating private from the public, basically,
Right.
what you do.
Right, exactly.
Now, I am right now in the process of changing some bills. Let's say Verizon. I had internet account recently changed. I called them and I said what I want them to do. And they opened completely new account for me. I had to go drop my old router, pick up new one. And I compare old account and the new account. And my new account has table that has name and address completely eliminated. So new account has no name and no address. It means that they consider me as a private citizen. So tomorrow I'm going to the hospital. I will do the same process. I will have outcomes. So I will probably talk more about it, what I do and what I did, and how it affected, what effects it has, maybe next time. So I want to do a couple of slides and everything like that, so I don't ask other people to pull information on the screen.
Well, since you're going to the hospital, I'll tell you what happened to me in the hospital, because I'm just going to, by way of example, I'll explain. So for me, again, I'm on another part of the dark room, touching the same animal, trying to figure out what it is. Me, what I did is I declared my status as an American state national. I did this quite some time ago, more than a year ago. I followed the Judge Anapon rights process, which is now available on, I think it's called paperupnow.com, paperupnow.com. So they have all the process there. But anyway, I did that more than a year ago. When I went to the hospital, I walked in and they presented me with a little keyboard and they said, "Well, put your Social Security in there." And I said, "I don't have one." They looked at me weird and they said, "You don't have one? What do you mean you don't have one?" I said, "Well, I'm not a United States citizen. I've never worked for the federal government. And I'm not an agent for a United States citizen." So by definition, if you know the definition of the Social Security number and where it comes from, that's what it means. If you're not...
Can I add to that a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, just the fact that what you just said is not completely true, because you can file an SS5 as a legal alien, which would mean you're not a U.S. citizen.
It depends on is it a statutory definition of alien, or is it actual foreign?
If it's well, you got to think of it this way. It's like what Elena was saying. See, as a union, all the states are foreign to each other.
Right.
So if I'm a citizen of Michigan, I would be an alien to the other 49 states of the union. Now, because they formed under the Confederation, under the union, we are granted equal rights. Right, a citizen of one state gets all the same rights and protections as a citizen of the other states. But when it comes to business, they are all foreign countries. They're all alien to each other, just like they are alien to the federal government.
And so what does that have to do with the need for a social security number?
The need for a social security number is because, like Alana's saying, when you operate through a principal and you get involved in commerce, that you have to have the tracking numbers for security.
That's not what I'm saying.
This is how everything works. Okay.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I am not.
You're asking why you need a social security number. I'm telling you why you need a social security number.
No. But I'm telling you.
Let him finish his process.
Yeah.
No, so in other words.
Well, I'm just saying that the statement you made about the fact that the social security number is only for U.S. citizens or whatever, however you worded that, is not correct.
For a federal employee.
No, it's not.
So okay, so
illegal. How could a legal alien be a federal employee?
Well, again, did you get that definition?
Well, this is actually
from a federal code.
No, because they don't define it. That's part of the problem. This is actually what I'm working towards a case against Social Security for that very reason, because Social Security does not define legal alien, but legal is technically is contractual or it is statutory, right? This is under private law. Because it's not in the public, it's not law of nations stuff. It's not lawful. Like you'll notice that the Social Security number can be granted to U.S. citizens or to permanent lawful residents. But then when you go to check down citizenship, they use the word legal alien, not lawful alien. It's because those are two different things, like you're saying. Statute.
So I'll give you an example, because this is what happened to me in the hospital also. So the administrator called me up and they said, "You're an American national?" I said, "I'm an American state national, yes." And what they did was they Googled what that meant. And the only thing that can come up for them is the definition under the federal statutes. And they read it to me, which is like Guam and all those other, and I said, no, I have nothing to do with that. So by definition, all I'm saying is by definition, if that term is coming from their federal statutory definitions.
Right, but you also have to remember that the federal government of the United States operates in two capacities. They can administrate and regulate U.S. citizens because those are entities that they created under the 14th Amendment, but they're also the federal government for the Union, in which they're the third-party arbitrator, right, that gets pulled in for like diversity of citizenship. And they also have delegated authorities under the Constitution. But again, Congress operates in two capacities.
So here's the fundamental thing that you are missing, and this is so fundamental. The Constitution does not apply to the living man. We the people created the contract. The contract is between we the people and the federal government.
Yes, but we the people are the state citizens. The state citizens were the people that wrote those constitutions for the state, that created the state. The state is then the one that created the federal government. The state is sovereign to the federal government.
Right.
Okay.
But again, it's nothing but a contract.
It's not really a contract because there's not really an exchange. This is how governments and nation states work. It's not a business situation because there's no exchange.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, there is an exchange.
What's the exchange? And a contract usually requires what? Two signatures, right?
The reason for the Constitution was to get federal, in other words, contract, because that's what federal means, services from the British Empire. By definition, the citizen is a British Empire.
That's just ridiculous. What is a state constitution then?
Oh my God!
You just said federal constitution.
No, because
federal
because the word federal means contract.
Okay, so what is state? What is the state constitution then? So you're saying the state constitution is the same thing? Every constitution is the same.
Since 1860.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you're following all of Anna's research, right? That's where this is all coming from.
Well, see, nobody has contradicted. If you can contradict Anna in any of her articles, please do so.
Well, I already did. That's what I'm trying to, and I tried to speak in before. Well,
where?
Hey guys, can I interject something that might kind of help the situation or not? I'm just going to interject. I'm not saying it's right, wrong. Take it for what you will.
Right.
Okay. What does Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 say?
I don't know. What does it say?
Well, hold on. That's your linchpin, dudes. That's your linchpin. For both your arguments.
But those are actually null and void because they're actually articles of the Confederation. That's what. That's what that's where they come from. They're actually articles of the Federation, which are no longer being used anymore because the Federation.
No.
Robert, what's
the
section?
Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the Constitution. There is the Declaration. Listen, these are all fluid documents. They all work in tandem and together, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You have the Declaration of Independence. You have the Articles of Confederation and Northwest Ordinance and the Constitution. Okay? No, none of them nullified the other one. Okay? They're all working together. All right. And if you want the research on that, you can go to Edward Rivera. That guy is just phenomenal. He was disbarred because he brought this up and, wanted to do the right thing, and they disbarred him.
What was his name? Sorry, what was his name?
Eduardo Rivera. He's in California. He was disbarred, I think, after about 30-some years because he brought this into the federal court because he wanted to, say, hey, I think we have a problem that nobody's looking at. And, of course, they were like, bye-bye. Now, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 says, the United States shall have exclusive, now I'm paraphrasing, shall have exclusive legislation over the 10-mile square and the territories and the military bases and arsenals and any land ceded to it by the legislature of the state. So what that means is, what does that do to all your federal laws, okay, if they only have exclusive legislation? Remember, legislation is creating law. Right. If they only have exclusive legislation over the 10-mile square and the arsenals, military bases, and territories, what does that do to all their federal law? It can't go in the state, okay? It can't. It's impossible according to their rules. Of course, they've subverted that. We know all that stuff, right?
What kind of?
But hang on.
Okay, go ahead.
So, now, even the federal courthouses, if you look at them, okay, you could easily challenge jurisdiction to say, this court doesn't even have jurisdiction to be here because this land that this courthouse is on is not ceded to the government. I don't see any sales receipts. I don't see any state legislation that passed that said, yes, we're ceding this over to the government. There's none of that, right? So they didn't follow protocol, okay? So that's one major linchpin. Now, I bring this to you. I started studying this stuff about 10 years ago, and one of the first guys I started studying was Paul Andrew Mitchell, private attorney general. This man has been doing this about 40 years, okay? He was is a software engineer that AOL, back when the internet first came out, they screwed him. They stole his stuff, right? So he took him to task. Not only did he take him to task, but he took him all the way to the Supreme Court, all right? He beat the shit out of them, and he beat the shit out of the Supreme Court judges, and at the same time, he proved that the IRS, okay, was working outside of the federal zone. He wrote a book called The Federal Zone, so much so that the United States actually incorporated it into their language, okay? So the federal zone is a real thing. It's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, all right? That's a big linchpin. Now, the other thing we do is we open our mouths way too much, We want to tell everybody we know this, we know that. In my experience, from going into courtrooms, okay, having judges run off the bench, having 8, 9 marshals come at me and back off, I've been through this. The biggest thing was not admitting to them who the hell I am, ever. Denial, denial, denial. Burden of proof's on you, Because, again, they're trying to link you as the agent, yes, as all that. But I don't even play that game because I'm a man of God, okay? I can't have another entity. That's against my religious beliefs. Does anybody care to challenge that, Judge? And you want to see a judge cower? You start bringing God in the courtroom. And people go, oh, no, you can't do that. Well, yes, you can. It depends on how you're entering the courtroom. Now, granted, keep in mind, I went into courtrooms as counsel for people. I didn't have my own issues. but they were standing on the same footing that I was, okay, which was, we are divine spirits incarnate as man, and as such, there's no jurisdiction. We don't agree to it. We notified them prior to court. We went in with a jury of 12 behind us. Every time we went to court, we brought 12 people. I opened the court in their court, so I opened our court in their court, and that usually really blew these guys apart. Because again, the principle is, you guys are using federal funding, okay? The state of is not Florida. It's not North Carolina. And again, you know, the whole thing about entering court is special appearance, you know, and you don't have to announce special appearance. Actually, they won't even hear that. What you have to do is challenge jurisdiction from the jump. From the jump.
How do you challenge jurisdiction, or how do you go about challenging jurisdiction? Because me myself, I mean, I've been down the whole.
Hey, Robert, do you mind if I jump in just for a little bit, and then I'll shut up and let you?
Yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to offer that. I could. You got to stop me, man, because I keep.
So on the so on the record again, you have the United States, which is one with a small t. The United States with a capital T, and a bunch of other different ones. So you have to know that whenever you read any constitution, because Robert started with the clause that said the United States, blah, 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 establishes, you know, law through Congress, et cetera, et cetera. Look at amendment, look at the 7th Amendment. It says suits. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of a trial jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by the jury shall be otherwise re-examined by a court of the United States, small t-h-e, then according to the rules of the common law, right? So let me read that again, because it says at. If we were referring to us being the sovereign American state national, it would say in common law, because we are in common law. We are not at common law. We're in common law.
Okay, can I add to that?
Hold on, I'm not done. It says facts. One of the courts of the United States judge the law for the facts. That's on the record. That's the very definition of law. You can't judge the facts. If they're facts, they're facts. It says the United States, small t-h-c, this referring to the municipal government, again, owned by the Vatican. It says the rules of common law. This refers to military common law, not our version of common law.
What is military common law?
Does not have rules by definition. That is the very definition of common law. So if you read
maritime law.
So if you read that, they're talking about themselves.
Where can I get a definition of military common law?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I'd like to back up for a second here, because the point of the different constitutions is very true, right? However, which constitution is always the game, right?
No. Actually, what does the Constitution have to do with anything that has to do with court? Because when you go into court, I mean, if anybody's been in court, you know that Constitution, Declaration of Independence, that's all out the window.
That's because you've already given jurisdiction by your appearance. That's why you can only enter specially.
I've only appeared specially, and you know, appearing specially, you're still appearing. You are actually appearing. You're there, and you're answering up for a name. And if you're an agent for the name, you need to present something that they have that's tangible, that you're the agent for.
Right.
However,
well, let's talk about this, because explain to me your entry of appearance. And again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just want to know, you know, what your process was, so I can kind of analyze too.
Okay. Well, several different scenarios. Here's one of them.
Okay.
I've gotten pulled over, and I've been during the stop have been wronged in the way of cops reaching inside my car, unlocking my door. So, and once they have their hand on your shoulder, you have two choices. You're either resisting, or you're assaulting them. So those are what they're going to tell you anyway. So even though they're in the wrong, you figure that they'd try and just, all right, let it go then, instead of dragging out to court. But they still give you a ticket anyway. Appearing only specially to correct an error on the court's part.
Okay, hold on right there so I can ask you a couple questions. So when you did that, how did you write a notice? Did you put in something? How did you let them know you were appealing when you showed up to court?
No. I put the paperwork in, like within 3 days. I usually send one to the officer, but they're usually different. When I write them, I'll write one specifically for the officer. Not really threatening, but basically threatening, saying, hey, if you go ahead and do this, and I'm gonna hold you accountable personally, because you're causing me harm. And I've never ever gotten a response back from any of the letters to the cops themselves.
Oh, of course. They're not allowed. They got to go through their attorney, county attorney, and all that. Okay, right. So again, let's back up just a second. So in your notices, or to the court or to the officer, what was being said?
Let me see if I can actually just grab one for you.
Yeah, that's cool. And I do want to offer something while you're doing that. Has anybody ever said on the call that's gotten pulled over, I'm sorry, I cannot say anything without my attorney. I can't answer any questions. I cannot speak to you without an attorney.
I think that's fabulous.
Or you don't even have to say attorney. You can say counsel, because that's in the law too, and that's a better word to use, obviously, because all of us have this slight towards attorneys. But, okay, the reason I say that is because we all dog attorneys, right? But a lot of these guys do have some tricks of the trade, okay? And one of those is that. Now, I've used this in several circumstances, and I've had friends use it, okay? You're talking to a cop that has a very low IQ. The only thing that cop knows is attorney, right? That's a buzzword for, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing. I better hold on, this guy's talking attorney, okay? So I'm not saying anybody's wrong for doing what they're doing or shouldn't do it. I'm just offering that piece of information. That was given to me by a very prominent attorney that got people off all kinds of shit all the time. And he said, never say a word. Say, I do not have my attorney and I cannot speak. And leave it at that. And I'm like, okay. And you know what? So far, he's been right. I even had a friend that was so drunk, it ruined our friendship. She took my son or she tried to get my son in the car. She was wasted. And the police came to her, okay, drunk as shit. And the cop goes, we're going to go, we'll probably take her down to the station, blah, 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 blah. And he goes in the house. This woman is like hammered, but she remembered what I told her. And the cop kept saying, ma'am, I need you to, what was this? But, he's questioning her. She kept saying, I'm sorry, I can't say anything without an attorney. Sorry, I can't say anything without an attorney. So about a half an hour later, this cop comes out and he's pissed. He's like, she keeps saying she can't talk. She doesn't have an attorney. We'll see about that. And I'm laughing to myself, right? Like, oh, I got to watch this. So he gets on the phone with his superior and he's over there and I hear him and it's like 15 minutes goes by and he finally hangs up. He comes over and goes, yeah, we've determined she's okay. She doesn't seem to be intoxicated. She seems coherent. Now, this woman was trashed, okay? It's not even a question. She seems to be coherent, so we're just going to go ahead and leave for the night. She should be all right by the morning. Okay, so anyway, that's just a little bit of experience that I've had using that tactic. Now, again, people say, well, that doesn't matter. They're going to drag you out of the car and beat you. Maybe so, but at least you've already reserved your right. So anyway.
Can I interject for 2 seconds on that? So I got pulled over one time and I had started my audio video recorder and I was on my way to a festival. I actually was on house arrest already with an ankle bracelet. And so I had gotten permission to go to this festival, to go work at a festival. And I was heading to this festival and they pulled me over for a brake light that was out. The third brake light that you really don't need? All right, so they pulled me over for that somehow going out. So he pulls me over and says, you going to this festival? I said, yeah, I'm going to work security. he had no idea of my being on this ankle bracelet or anything. This was a few years back, and he says, all right, well, license and registration. Now at this point, I had not done what Robert's saying. I didn't immediately say. In fact, I had a license at that time. I had signed it, without prejudice, UCC 1-308, and I don't give a shit about that. That's nothing to do with the story, but just as a side note. So I give him the license, and he goes, "So you got any drugs in the car?" And of course, that's like the question they always ask me. So I said, "No, I don't." He goes, "You mind if I search?" I said, "Of course I do. In fact, at this point, if you want to ask me any more questions, you need, I need my lawyer present." And so he goes, "Well, whatever." He goes, "We got dogs 2 seconds away. Well, I'll be right back." So he comes back, brings another cop there with the dog. Fast forward, they bullshit me. They act like there's drugs in the car. They get me out of the car. Of course, I don't find anything because at this point I'm already on house arrest, and I had gotten arrested for marijuana. And so at this point I had like nothing on me. It was a brand new car that I'd never owned before. There's nothing in it. Again, sorry, long story short, I had my recorder going in the car, and they had me outside of the car, and they're digging through every part of my car. And as they're digging through it, the one cop says to the other cop, first he says, "We're missing it. It's here somewhere." And then the other cop says to him, he goes, "You think so?" And he goes, Yeah, here somewhere." And then the other cop says to him, the part that I was really trying to get to. He says, he says, "Interesting." He says he asked for his lawyer and he still gave you his license. And and maybe that means nothing to you guys, but to me, the way that he said it made me think, just as Robert Michael is saying, you have every right when you get pulled over from the get-go, the second that they start to interact with you, to say, "I don't answer questions, and I'm not going to answer any questions without my lawyer present." And
yeah, look, it took me the school of hard knocks to realize I opened my mouth too much. All they're doing is taking my story and turning it into a charge. Yep. That's it. Words right out of my mouth. Now, same incident where the woman was drunk, okay? The cop questioned me, which is fine, because at that point I'm like, yeah, you could take her to jail because she put my son in danger. We're on a whole different level, So anyway, a week after, or a few days after that incident, Child Protective Services calls me, okay? And the woman leaves me a message, so I don't bother calling her back. I'm like, bullshit. I have nothing to do with this. I'm not selling my friend that far down the river, because that's just a nightmare. That's not cool, I told her what the cop did. She deserves it for what she was doing to her own daughter, put her in danger. Anyways, another part of the story. So CPS calls, so I don't bother. A week later, I get a call from the same woman. Now the woman says, "You're avoiding my call. You need to call me back." And I'm like, oh, we're going to play that game. Okay, we'll call her back. So called her back. Okay, she starts into this whole thing. Well, what kind of parent are you leaving your son with a woman who's drinking and getting in the car, which is hilarious to me, because I'm thinking, my son's the one that said, "No, you're staying with me," to her son, and had the wherewithal and the knowledge from me to stay put and not get in the car with her. So what kind of fucking bad parent are you talking about? But I wasn't going to argue with her. So anyway, she goes on and on with her whole spiel. I said, "Look, my son's my property, and there's a lien on that. So I don't know what to tell you." And she's like, "What? Your son's property? Who calls her son property?" And she goes to this whole thing, right? So I said, "Ma'am, let me ask you just a very simple question." I said, "Who are you talking to?" And she's like, she didn't know what to say. I said, "What's my name? Do you know my name? Do you even know my name?" And she goes, "Hold, please." And she puts me on hold, right? So she comes back like a minute later. That's a long time. You're sitting on the phone. Like, what is this woman doing? A minute and a half later, she comes back. What does she do? She reads me everything that Officer Beanbag told her, okay? Everything. Everything she read back to me were my words. And I was like, damn, there it is again, trying to use my words against me. And all I said to her was, "I'm sorry, ma'am. None of that's true." And she hung up on me. And I never heard another word from her again. Never heard another word. Because I deny your claim. I don't care what you say. But yes, using that tactic, think about it, guys. These guys are morons, They're scared of the law because they don't really know it. So if you bring attorney in, all of a sudden they think, oh shit, an attorney's going to get involved. Okay, well, let's tread lightly, And I'm not saying that a cop's not going to be stupid and still, do some shit he shouldn't be doing and injure you, but you're much better off keeping your mouth shut. You don't need to prove to these knuckleheads that you know the law and they don't. That's a problem.
Right? You actually can't do that because
you don't have a right to.
Reminding them,
Number one.
and they're not going to they're going to be offended by that. However, when you try and what I've found is when you try to talk about a lawyer or anything, I mean, cops they're not stupid, and what they do is they like to say things in order. So if you're going to stay quiet, that makes you say something. Like not to make you say something, but by you're not saying anything, which tell them, okay, this is happening. Like saying, oh, so you're not going to talk? Oh, okay. So you don't mind then if we tow your car then because you're obviously not cooperating with us. And
I say, I'm sorry, sir, I can't answer that without my next.
Right. So we're just going to.
And then what's he say? I'm going to drag you out of the car. I'm going to do that. I'm sorry, sir, I can't answer that.
Well, we're gonna have to ask you to move your car over because this is we are blocking. We're blocking traffic, or we're not in a safe area.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't do that without the advice of my counsel. I'm sorry, sir. I don't know the law, and I can't really move without my counsel. Can't do anything. Sorry.
You see,
well, where's your counsel?
Right?
Well, he's sleeping.
You see, but right there, what just happened is they just told you a reason for public safety that you need to move your vehicle.
No, I don't, because I am not. First off, there's no emergency here. What's the crime? Is there a crime?
You just created an emergency because now you guys they purposely block traffic in order for them to create a hazard. So to protect the public, they could do whatever they need to do.
Well, again, there's other ways to handle it, right?
I'm sure, but I'm just saying that it's not so cut and dry. It's
no, it's not. It never is with any situation. You know that but you're much better off starting off on that foot and keeping your mouth shut than anything.
Hey,
you
Robert,
really are.
Hey, Robert, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So if you were to boil this down, would it be either they have a civil case or a criminal case? And if they have a civil case, they must have a contract. And if they have a criminal case, then you must have an
injured party.
An injured party.
Sure. So I didn't say any of that.
Neither.
It's not police, though.
It's neither. It's traffic.
And they don't have either.
Yeah, they don't have either. So that's the crux of it, isn't it, Robert?
Sure. Well, yeah, absolutely. But I'm not going to get in that with Officer Knucklehead because he doesn't know shit from nothing.
No, right. No.
Right.
Trust me. One of my ex-girlfriends was a state trooper for many years, and she was my girlfriend for a reason because I don't know the law, and she's an idiot.
Of course. Well, they pick idiots.
But
anyway, I wanted to get back to. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. The other gentleman was talking about his appearance and all, and I know we were kind of getting into that.
My name is Ruben.
Oh, go ahead, Ruben. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I have numerous freaking different cases here. The not the most recent, but the most easily accessible, I guess, here is this one. I wrote it up myself. It says plaintiff in error versus my name in all caps. And then I have misnomer aggrieved defendant because I'm not a real defendant. I was kind of an alleged defendant. Aggrieved, like meaning in error, and I'm not supposed to be a defendant because I didn't want to give that to them. And also with this notice, I also filed an acceptance of the constitutions and oath of office because in order for them to operate under their oath of office, you actually have to accept it because it's an offer. So if you don't accept their offer, it doesn't pertain to your case.
Right. But I guess what I'm getting at is what in your notice was specific about challenging the territorial jurisdiction of the court.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
So
and you don't even really have to tell me as long as it's in there, right?
Right. Well, I mean, just to give them a heads up on what you're doing or why you're there. So I, along with the acceptance of his oath of office, I filed. I filed a appearance. I hereby appear only specially to demand a withdrawal from previously filed case reference to notice to appear, citation number blah blah blah, due to coercion of defendant to enter into a contract which is void.
Okay, hold on. Have you read the appearance in American jurisprudence?
No, I read appearance in the Uniform Commercial Code because since everything is commercial, everything falls underneath the code before.
Well, I understand that. Remember, this is our knowledge, okay? But never, ever, and I was told this years ago and I learned the hard way, never, ever discount the other side's view and how they operate.
Well, what other side? There is no other side.
Well, there is another side. It's the other side, the party that's coming at. It's the legal system. That's the other side. You don't belong to the legal system, right? That's what we're saying here. None of us belong to the legal system. The legal system with the attorneys and how they have it set up functions in a very specific way. And yes, they all follow certain.
It's not real.
Well, but it is real. It's real,
but it's not legit.
And remember, de facto doesn't mean it's not real. Okay, it just means it's not the lawful one, but it's still real. Okay.
Well, I mean,
but hold on, I don't want to get too far.
I would definitely agree with that. That the de facto is operation of law, not like execution of law. That's like the de jure de facto.
If you read, and you really should read the law encyclopedias, Corpus Juris Secundum and American Jurisprudence, and look at the cases that they cite, okay? Because every sentence in there comes from usually a court case, all right? And if you look at that court case, it gives you a better perspective of how they're viewing this, okay? So, the special appearance, what you did in that last one, you went right into controversy. I'm here to demand, I'm this or that. You have to say, this court has no jurisdiction based on bam, 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 bam. Thank you, have a nice day. That's it. You're not there. Because the minute you get into the controversy, you appeared generally. That's what it says in American jurisprudence. And they're right, because every time I've seen it, it's exactly what happens. And every time I've done it, it happens. The same.
Well, I got this case dismissed.
Well, that's good. I'm not saying that you won't get it dismissed or that you can't get into the controversy. But in terms of going in specially, remember, that is the only time, and you don't put in a motion to appear specially, because it says in the law books that they don't recognize that. It's just the fact that you challenge jurisdiction from the jump, and that's it. There's no other argument. There's no, getting into the controversy. So that's how you appear specially the proper way, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, you got to understand how they obtain jurisdiction, and they obtained it by this notice. That's why I attacked the notice, because the notice was not valid on its face, which means that would kill the jurisdiction.
No, but you're making a legal determination that you're arguing the jurisdiction.
You're jumping in the controversy.
You're jumping.
Yeah, you're arguing. You can't argue subject matter jurisdiction because it's not subject matter jurisdiction. It's territorial and personal jurisdiction.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but the only American jurisprudence says the only thing you go into court doing to challenge, basically for on a special appearance, it's to go in and to challenge the jurisdiction of the court of your person, period.
Yes.
And that's all you can, and as Robert Michael's been saying, you can't argue anything else. You have to only stick to jurisdiction of your person, because as soon as you start arguing anything else, you then have to just naturally give jurisdiction of the court to make a determination over what you're arguing.
Well, exactly. a lot of jurisdiction works by operation of the law domicile as well.
Well, that's it. Exactly. Which is the territory, which is domicile of person, which is again jurisdiction over person. If they don't have jurisdiction over the domicile, so that's jurisdiction of person, right? because you're in a domicile that they don't have jurisdiction of.
But they,
So that's another point to back up your.
most of the people, from my research at least, and this is what I'm still working to prove. So again, this is my opinion or my understanding, is that the Social Security, that would be your person, that's your legal person, your principal agent, and the citizenship on there is your legal domicile. So when you check off U.S. citizen, you're essentially claiming a federal domicile.
Well, sure, but who does that?
What? Everybody checks you. Everyone checks U.S. citizen on the SS5, right?
Not me.
SSI.
Not me. First off, I don't even know what an SSF5 is. Who's got identification of me here? Who's got identification?
All right, yeah, but so you're still working. You're still trying to work at the system from outside the system instead of just making a correct record within the system.
No, I'm not. No. There's no. Look, here's the deal. Okay, here's how I operate, and it's worked every time. Okay, I made my own records, public notice, notified the parties, put it in the newspaper. Now, have you ever read the doctrine of what the hell is it called? The doctrine of evidence.
Unrebutted affidavit stands as law.
Well,
Right.
no, it's a doctrine
Stand as
of
truth.
not superior evidence. I forget what they call it. Okay,